Today is December 1st. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous in the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today at the Big Book, we're going to begin our journey through Chapter 10, Two Employers. We'll be reading page 136, and we'll also begin tradition number 7 by reading page 160, and read the 24 hours a day and daily reflection. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this morning, my friends. It's December 1st already. Golly. Thanksgiving's over now. Christmas decorations are starting to come out for a lot of folks. Although our family is one of those families that decorates shortly after Halloween. But anyway, it's hard to believe this is the last month of the podcast. We're rounding the corner here. And what a blessing it's been for me personally. Really been great for my soul. So let's get to the good stuff. So out of the Big Book today, we're on Chapter 10, Two Employers. We'll be reading page 136. Among many employers nowadays, we think of one member who has spent much of his life in the world of big business. He has hired and fired hundreds of men. He knows the alcoholic as the employer sees him. His present views ought to prove exceptionally useful to businessmen everywhere. But let him tell you. I was at one time assistant manager of a corporation department employing 6,600 men. One day my secretary came in saying that Mr. B insisted on speaking with me. I told her to say that I was not interested. I warned him several times that he had but one more chance. Not long afterward, he had called me from Hartford on 2 successive days. So drunk he could hardly speak. I told him he was through, finally and forever. My secretary returned to say that it was not Mr. B on the phone. It was Mr. B's brother, and he wished to give me a message. I still expected a plea for clemency, but these words came through the receiver. I just wanted to tell you that Paul jumped from a hotel window in Hartford last Saturday. He left us a note saying that you were the best boss he ever had, and that you were not to blame in any way. Another time, as I opened a letter which lay on my desk, a newspaper clipping fell out. It was the obituary of one of the best salesmen I ever had. After 2 weeks of drinking, he had placed his toe on the trigger of a loaded shotgun. The barrel was in his mouth. I had discharged him for drinking 6 weeks before. Out of the 12 and 12 are on Tradition 7. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supporting, declining outside contributions. Page 160. Self-supporting alcoholics? Who ever heard of such a thing? Yet we find that that's what we have to be. This principle is telling evidence of the profound change that AA has wrought in all of us. Everybody knows that active alcoholics scream that they have no troubles money can't cure. Always we've had our hands out. Time out of mind, we've been dependent upon somebody, usually money-wise. When a society composed entirely of alcoholics says that it's going to pay its bills, that's really news. Probably no AA tradition had the labor pains this one did. In early times, we were all broke. When you add to this the habitual supposition that people ought to give money to alcoholics trying to stay sober, it can be understood why we thought we deserved a pile of folding money. What great things AA would be able to do with it. But oddly enough, people who had money thought otherwise. They figured that it was high time we now, sober, paid our own way. So our fellowship stayed poor because it had to. There was another reason for our collective poverty. It was soon apparent that while alcoholics would spend lavishly on 12-step cases, they had a terrific aversion to dropping money into a meeting place hat for group purposes. We were astounded to find that we were as tight as the bark on a tree. So AA, the movement, started and stayed broke while its individual members waxed prosperous. "24 hours a day, December 1st. AA thought for the day. The thoughts that come before having a slip are often largely subconscious. It is a question whether or not our subconscious minds ever become entirely free from the alcoholic thoughts as long as we live. For instance, some of us dream about being drunk when we're asleep, even after years of sobriety in AA. During the period of our drinking days, our subconscious minds have been thoroughly conditioned by our alcoholic way of thinking, and it is doubtful that they ever become entirely free of such thoughts during our lifetime. But when our conscious minds are fully conditioned against drinking, we can stay sober, and our subconscious minds do not often bother us. Am I still conditioning my conscious mind? Meditation for the day. Having sympathy and compassion for all who are in temptation, a condition that we are sometimes in, we have responsibility toward them. Sympathy always includes responsibility. Pity is useless because it does not have a remedy for the need. But wherever our sympathy goes, our responsibility goes too. When we are moved with compassion, we should go to the one in need and bind up their wounds as best we can. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may have sympathy for those in temptation. I pray that I may have compassion for others' trials. Daily Reflection, December 1st. Suggested Steps. Our 12th step also says that as a result of practicing all the steps, we have each found something called a spiritual awakening. AA's manner of making ready to receive this gift lies in the practice of the 12 steps in our program. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, pages 106 and 107. I remember my sponsor's answer when I told him that the steps were suggested. He replied that they are suggested in the same way that, if you were to jump out of an airplane with a parachute, it is suggested that you pull the ripcord to save your life. He pointed out that it was suggested that I practice the 12 steps if I wanted to save my life. So I try to remember daily that I have a whole program of recovery based on all the 12 of the suggested steps. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading. Some great stuff. Oh my goodness, it's hard to pick one. The 24 hours a day is beautiful. Am I still conditioning my conscious mind? You know, for me, I'll be honest with you. There are some people that they tell me they never miss drinking. That's not how this alcoholic thinks. There are still times where my mind will go there. Doesn't matter how long it's been. And it'll go there and think, oh man, wouldn't you like to have the XY drink while you're watching the hockey game? Or hey, man, remember those good days when it wasn't all bad? My mind will still try to talk me into it, my subconscious mind, right? But this is where the conditioning comes in. Okay, what have I been told about this? One of the old famous cliches I love to repeat is play the tape all the way through. All I have to do is think about that day that I've shared many times where my wife's in the kitchen. Actually, she woke me up, caught me in all my lies about 3 a.m. and confronted me with everything. Think about the blackouts. Think about the fear of, oh God, what did I do? What did I say? You know, who did I text? Whatever. Where am I? Think about that. That is conditioning. And then also the conditioning of getting up in the morning and praying. Turning my will and my life over to the care of the God of my understanding throughout the day. When I'm in my head thinking about somebody else instead. Calling somebody just to say hi. Getting outside of myself, reading the big book to go to a meeting, to pray, to help another drunk, or just anybody in general. This is just conditioning, right? These are things I had to learn. They did not come natural. But these things have saved my life in those moments where my messed up alcoholic thinking says, hey, that drink would be nice. It wasn't all bad. Come on, Rob. You've been sober for XYZ. You can have one. You never really had a problem in the first place. You were just depressed before. Alcohol wasn't the problem. Yeah. Can't listen to that voice. Thank God for spiritual conditioning. So with that, my friends, I hope you have a great one. If we're given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.